Fight week.
Yeah.
But it's kind of an interesting fight week, right? I mean, you got so much going on, not just in the cage, but out of the cage as well. So let me just ask you what the environment's like for you this week. I mean, you know, you're fighting this legal battle, this labor battle, you know, working on this stuff. So what are people treating you like? Are you an outsider here? Or is
no,
is
not
it
at all. Like, really, the people that I always have face-to-faces with within the UFC have always been amazing. Throughout the entire process, they've been amazing. It's the people that are the higher-ups that would probably have a negative opinion of me if anybody does. And if they do, I don't really know it because I don't get any FaceTime with these people. So I don't know what they think.
You've been one of the most outspoken people with this movement right now. Obviously an important movement for fighters, but why you? Why, you know, I wonder why you? Why was this such an important cause, something that you had to, you know, put your hand in the air and say, let's do this?
I just think all the causes in the world really are important, right? I believe that I've been a big portion of my life has been fighting against social injustice, whether it's the racial inequality and systemic racism that the First Nations people face within Canada, whether it's the discrimination and the racism that the other minorities are facing within America, or really any other cause that's out there, environmentalism, fighting against large resource extraction within Canada, oil and gas and BC Hydro, all these giant corporations that are stripping the land, stripping the people that are on the land of their land. All of these things have been very important to me for a long, long time. I grew up in kind of a revolutionary type family. My dad was a Black Panther. My mom, after they broke up, my mom ended up marrying a First Nations chief who was very, very outspoken, and he's like, wild, you know. So I grew up on the reservation, right, and I experienced a whole lot of systemic racism there and social injustice. So it's just something that's been a part of me. And when I see something that there's an issue, and especially an issue where nobody's really willing to say anything about it, everybody seems to be really scared to say something about it, I don't really fear the UFC. You know, I've created a situation where they can't own me anymore. My wealth and my sustainability is no longer tied to them directly. I have my own gym. I have a number of other hustles that are going, so I make my own money. If I'm able to make money through the UFC as well, that's amazing. That's a blessing. But I'm not reliant on that. If I'm only reliant on my income within the UFC in order to sustain life, now they own me, right? Now I have to abide by whatever they say. I can't stick my head up. I can't do anything. So I've created a situation where this is possible.
Very nice. Project Spearhead is one that you're getting behind right now at this moment. Yeah. We've seen a couple different startups that kind of petered out or whatever. Give me an idea why this one, it seems like you're kind of throwing all in on or believe in it.
Yes.
Why are you feeling good about this one?
I believe in this one. I've believed in the MMAFA as well and their approach, but I believe that Project Spearhead is a more all-inclusive organization. We accept people that have different viewpoints. If you believe that we need a union specifically, you're welcome. If you believe that we do not need a union, that we should be an association and only fight through antitrust lawsuits and utilize the existence of the Ali Act after it gets adopted by Congress, then you're welcome. Everyone is welcome. If you are an elite fighter, in any of the major organizations, you're welcome. And I think that is one place that the power lies. And the second place is this is a grassroots organization. We are not being led by some giant mucky muck who's a lawyer, or someone who's a promoter or a former promoter. There's no one on the outside that's going to control us. This is a for fighters by fighters organization, a grassroots organization. So I think that really is the key, and that's what gives us the power. Yeah.
I mean, what is the right approach, you think? I mean, you think the thing that you're saying is it's all inclusive, that everybody can do it, and so, you know, depending on the viewpoint. But at some point, everybody's got to get one, right?
Yeah, we're going to have to make a decision.
Are you comfortable saying kind of where you stand on that right now?
Yes, for sure. In my opinion, I think that we should have a multi-employer CBA. So we will have different CBAs. We either have a multi-employer CBA or have different CBAs with multiple organizations. Okay, so we could have a CBA with Bellator, we could have a CBA with the UFC, we could have a CBA with Invicta, we could have a CBA with ONE FC, any of these organizations, right? And that will still allow us to be a union. Okay, so this is a model that is like ACTRA. My best friend and business partner is a stunt woman and actress, so I've gotten an inside look into how she is dealt with and how her union fights for her. And it's one of the most powerful unions, really. ACTRA, SAG, I believe those models fit us very, very well. And the main reason I believe that we should have those a structure like that is because these people are also able to remain independent contractors while in that union. Okay, she is an independent contractor. She's paid through Ninja Girl Productions. They don't pay her name specifically. She's not an employer. So that would still give us access to the Ali Act. Okay, because we're independent contractors, we are still covered by the Ali Act, but we still have CBAs with all these companies, right? So in my opinion, this is the best of both worlds, right? I still believe that the Ali Act is the single most important feature moving forward for us as fighters, because we need things like transparency. We need things like an independent sanctioning body. These things are going to change the way the whole sport works, right? And it's going to make it much more fair, much more merit-based. Whereas right now it's kind of arbitrary. Like, you'll have guys that'll get title shots, they're not in the top 10. You'll have guys get cut and they came off wins. Right, like there seems to be no consistency across the board. So I think everybody should be able to compete fairly, right, and treated equally. So for that to happen, the Ali Act needs to happen. Now, the Ali Act doesn't cover everything, though, right? Like, for instance, this big TV deal that's about to go through. The Ali Act will do nothing, has nothing to do with this giant billion-dollar TV deal that's about to go through, right? But we need a piece of that. Right? If we don't get a piece of that, that's a huge tragedy, because that alone will raise all of our income so incredibly, right? And it will actually allow us to create some sort of sustainability in this incredibly volatile career. So I think the two side by side is the answer.
I like it. I mean, it seems reasonable. I like the multiple CBAs. Make sense, because uniformity across every organization probably isn't going to work.
No,
so
it's not.
It's interesting to know that you could apply it that way. Yeah. The next step right now, what you're trying to do is get people to fill out the forms, right?
Yes.
Are there any drawbacks? I mean, is there any reason if a fighter is sitting on the fence and thinking, well, I like what you're saying, Kajan, this all sounds good to me, but I'm a little afraid too. I mean, are there a reason that a fighter should sit back and say, I don't know?
There isn't a logical reason, because all the forms are confidential. I don't even know who signed. I don't know who signed, okay? Our lawyer is the only one that knows who signed right now. And that may change. We may have to allow the treasurer to also have access to that information. But as it is right now, me and Leslie, we don't know who signed. We're just gonna keep working, keep approaching people. So there is a definite fear. That is the only reason that anybody has been able to give me as to why they didn't want to sign, is just that they're afraid of the repercussions from the UFC, which in itself, just goes to show how much the power the UFC holds over us, and how vindictive they have been. They have seemed, anyway. If whether they are or not, that's somebody else's point to say. But the way they've seemed, the way that us as athletes believe they could act against us, right? So, so that's the only real resistance that I've seen, is that people are just scared they're either going to lose their jobs or be treated unfairly because of it.
Yeah. you said it. You said you're not afraid, but I mean, not at all. But professionally, the concerned of any repercussions, or maybe who they put you up against in matchups, where they put you on cards, what they do. I mean, does it concern you at all?
I've accepted it. I've accepted it. I know that, like, since I have been speaking out, I've noticed that I'm not really as high on cards anymore. The last one, I was the first fight on the card. And there may be other factors here, but I'm just looking at it from my perspective. So last one was I was the first one on the card. This fight, I'm the third one on the card. Before that, I was always close to the top of the prelims. Or my very first fight, I was actually the first fight on the main card, right? So maybe I am being treated differently, but really, I don't care, man. I don't care. That fear isn't worth it to me. I have to be able to be myself. For me to be able to go and perform properly, for me to go and be able to be honest in a cage in front of millions of people, I have to be able to be honest in my day-to-day life. And this is part of my day-to-day life now. So before I used to hold back. I would only show pieces of myself. Now I'm willing to show my whole self, right? And if that ruffles some feathers, that ruffles some feathers, right? If it forces me to get harder fights, bring them on. Bring them on. Last guy was real hard, you know? And everybody said I wasn't going to win. And then look what happens, you know? So it is what it is, man. If you give me harder fights, I'm going to rise up the ranks faster, right? Because they're higher ranked. So sure, give me harder fights. Give me the hardest fight. Give me the champion. You know, go right ahead.
I like it. We'll talk about, I mean, as far as fighting goes, because this stuff is a huge part of your life, but fighting is still a big part as well. So how do you find it affects you? I mean, is your focus on this impacting your training, your mental focus, anything like that, or are you able to kind of compartmentalize it all?
Yeah, I do what I can. You know, I do what I can. I know that balance is key, and I'm not always going to be able to go and just message these guys constantly, and like Leslie right now is going crazy, like messaging like hundreds of people a day, you know, which is amazing. I'm so grateful for her. But I'm not able to do that at this stage. Right? Now, after this fight, I'm going to have some more time, so I'm going to be able to be reaching out a lot more. And that's kind of how it's going to have to go for me, is I'll be able to do it in phases. And that's going to have to be okay. And if it's not okay, then I'm willing to take a step back. If somebody else is able to do more and wants my spot, by all means, you know. But right now, there's not a whole bunch of people out there that are vying for this spot. So I'm just doing what I can, and that so far has been working.
I know you can't say because you don't even know who signed up. Are you aware of numbers-wise? I mean, do you get an update like that? Like how much interest you're getting? I
don't have a solid number. I know that we got 4 yesterday. So we've been getting more and more all the time. We are on schedule. I know that we are on schedule and possibly a little bit ahead of schedule because we only have a year to get a third of the roster, right? So within that, so we're shooting for, I think we should have everybody on at this pace. We should meet that goal by September. Right, and we're on pace for that. So really, we're doing well. We're doing well. I don't know the exact number, but I know that we're on pace and things are going properly.
Nice. And assuming that gets done, give me an idea of kind of the schedule and what to expect next. I mean, can this be done like in a positive way? Because I think that's what's interesting is, you know, I think something definitely needs to be done, right?
Yeah.
But does it have to be, you know, dig in and butt heads and battle and walkouts and strikes and whatever else? Or do you think this is something that can be done in a positive way?
I think it can be done in a positive way. I think that we want it to be done in a positive way. Nobody wants to lose the work. We all want to work. You know, we all want to fight. You know, we're fighters. We want to fight. We're not getting paid enough that a strike would be easy for us, right? But it's just really going to come to whether or not there's going to be blowback from the UFC. I would like it if they would just voluntarily recognize us, right? But if not, then we'll have to go through other options.
What if your fighting career comes to an end, whether it be UFC reasons, whether it be injury reasons, whatever it be? Would this be a cause that you'd still champion even if you know, your fighting days were over?
Definitely. This isn't about me. This isn't about me getting more money. This isn't about me getting what I need and what I believe are my rights as a fighter. It says nothing, because I know that by the time this actually comes to pass and is working and has changed the game, I'll either be done or I'll be close to done. You know, this is about my students. You know, this is about the next generation. And the way I was brought up, because I was raised on a reservation, right? So I was brought up with a lot of First Nations cultures and traditions. And one of the mainstays in that culture is you need to make the world and make the entire earth and every system a better place for the next 7 generations. You need to protect the next 7 generations. So this is part of what I'm doing. This is one of the reasons I'm doing this, is for the next 7 generations of martial artists. So they're not being oppressed like we were.
Very cool. Fans, if they believe in this cause, if they support, is there anything fans can do? Is there any assistance they can offer? Or is this something that just the fighters have to handle?
If anybody has any legal or business acumen and they're able to help out our team, we are definitely we are accepting a couple applicants on a volunteer basis. And the best person to reach out to for that would be Lucas Middlebrook or any of the Project Spearhead pages. But other than that, right now we don't have anything set up. We don't have like GoFundMe set up or anything. There are some talks to like selling T-shirts and things like that in order to start generating some income so that we have something if we need to fly here, fly there, get whatever done. But that'll all be coming in the future. So just stay tuned. There will be ways for the fans to help for sure.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate all the big picture talk. You've got a fight coming up on Saturday night, so you got to think about that. How are you seeing this thing play out? Are you excited for it?
Yeah, I'm super excited, man. This is like a very freeing fight, this one. The last fight, I wasn't able to be my complete self because I was dealing with such a specialist. Really, like on paper, he looked like he was good everywhere, which he was, but that wasn't the way he practiced his martial arts. It was very like one-dimensional. I'm gonna knock you out with a counter with either my left hand or my right hook. That was like really the only chip he would ever play. So I had to design a whole game staying away from that one area that he liked to use, right? Whereas this fight, Stevie will wrestle you, he'll go to the ground, he'll attack leg locks, so he'll kick you, he'll punch you, like where it's kind of all over the place. So there's no real one area that I have to avoid. I just can allow myself to be a lot more freed and a lot more flowing and just work in between the different disciplines and just be better at every discipline. So it's a lot more fun for me for sure.